So, Heidi Ho, good neighbors, here we are. It is the day after my last day at work, which ended up not being Friday, March 26th, but instead Thursday, April 1st, which I guess, I don't know, there's probably some kind of irony or something in there that I could capitalize on if I were thinking about it, but since I'm not, let's just roll with what we have. It is Friday, April 2nd. It's Good Friday. And I think that is a very fitting title, not only for those of you who celebrate it as a religious occurrence, but because here it is, the first official day of me being 100% in my business, and I scored a client, a paying client. Now, granted, it's not a big project that I'll be working on, but it's a project nonetheless, and I am excited, to say the least. But that's not why we're here. We are here because, as I mentioned in my last video, I wanted to tell you I wanted to more clearly tell you the steps I took to prepare for this leap of faith. Now, I am a single person. I do have a daughter, but she is grown and doing her own thing, bless her heart. And so as far as responsibilities are concerned, it's pretty much just me. And so for me to take this particular leap at this particular time in my life isn't as fraught with complications as it could have been. So take that in mind. For those of you who may be considering whether or not you want to quit the day job and go full-time in your business, just be very aware of how your different responsibilities, where you are in life, what's going on for you, how all of that's going to play into the steps you take to hop on out there and go full-time. So for me, like I said, being a single person, I did not have to consult anyone else. I didn't have to think about any other expenses and whatnot, likes, dislikes, needs, but my own. All right, so I actually started planning, not knowing when my leap was going to take place. In other words, I didn't have a set date in mind for when I was going to quit my job. When I started planning, I just knew that when I did it, I wanted to be in a certain place, physically, financially, mentally, etc. I started planning my leap of faith pretty much the day after I had my emotional breakdown. I just came to the realization that I didn't want to die having not lived my dream, having not gone full on 100% into living and earning, doing what I love. And what I love is writing. What I love is publishing books. What I love is helping other people do the same. And I just, however I die, I didn't want it to be with the regret of not having tried to make this work. So that was that. So that was the day that I started planning. I didn't have a definite date in mind as to when I was going to quit, but I knew that there were certain things that I wanted to have in place before I did. So first off, I started by reducing my expenses. So at the time, I was in a 2-bedroom apartment that was costing me roughly $1,200 to $1,300 a month, and that's rent and utilities. That was entirely too high as far as I was concerned, in terms of not having a steady or quote sure income. So first things first, I had to reduce my expenses. So I went to the leasing office at the apartment complex, asked them if they had a cheaper 1-bedroom available. They did. And so I did all the paperwork and whatnot, and then moved into an apartment that now costs me right around $1,000, give or take 20 or 30 bucks, $1,000 a month. So a reduction of about $300 to $400. After that, I started looking around at the different services and things I had. So I live a pretty lean life. I don't have a Netflix account. I don't have cable. I didn't have all that. All I had was internet, or all I have is internet and my cell phone. Not a lot of cost reduction there, but I was able to just kind of pare down my internet bill just a little bit by choosing a different plan. And with my cell phone, I'm pretty much at the bare minimum with the cell phone. I could go lower if I change providers, but to be perfectly honest, I'm happy with who I have. And under the circumstances, my cell phone bill is about 65 bucks a month. Not that big a deal. I think I'm okay there. And so, okay, so that was reducing my expenses. Next, I was carrying maybe $20,000 worth of debt, maybe. Might not have been that high. Might have been closer to 15 or 16,000. But anyway, I sat down and just wrote out the amount of debt that I was carrying. And I took a bold risk and closed out my retirement account and used that money, minus fees, penalties, charges, and federal taxes, to then pay off as much debt as I could. So I paid off my car. I had a personal loan. I paid that off. I had a credit card balance of almost $2,000. I paid that off. And then I paid down my student loans. So I got that down to a reasonable amount, leaving me with in terms of debt payments, a monthly payment of $170. So I figured if push came to shove, if I had to go back to work or whatever, if I had to do something part-time, I could make that payment. So I paid off as much debt as I could, and then I took the rest of the money and I tucked it away. I put away approximately 6 months worth of rent, utilities, and bills. So that went into my emergency fund. Then I took a decent chunk and I put that into my immediate savings account as backup, between just for backup, because I figured I didn't want to touch the emergency fund, because that was if I got to a point where the business was not making money and I had to now look for a job. That pot of money would carry me through the job search, or pay for a really nice tent and sleeping bag if I ended up having to be homeless, which is not a laughing matter, but in all honesty, that's the way I thought about it. I was like, well, if push comes to shove and nothing pans out, then I'm going to be the warmest homeless person on the block, kind of thing. So anyway, so that I set aside all that money for my retirement account. And then I just kind of sat still for a little bit and thought about backup plans, what ifs, right? And I looked at, okay, well, I needed to get books printed, so I had stock. So I took some money and I did that. I wanted to have something to fall back on job-wise And so I was already a notary through my job, and for whatever reasons, notary signing agents, somewhere along the line, somebody suggested to me that I look at doing that as a side hustle. And for whatever, with just that one little email conversation, of course, then all of a sudden, everywhere you look, I'm seeing all this information about notary signing agents. And oh my goodness, they're making all this money or whatever. And I thought about it. I have a good friend of mine. She's a real estate agent. And I thought, well, if push came to shove, I could work part-time for her doing her signings, right, for her contracts and whatnot. And so I looked into how much it would cost to get my notary signing agent certification. And of course, there's a course and all this good jazz. And so I went ahead and paid for that and took the course. Side note, I haven't finished it yet, so I'm not quite certified, but I'll get that taken care of here shortly. But anyway, so I put that into place because, again, just in case, right? If I go hard in the paint, as they say, and it doesn't pan out, then having a reliable or fairly reliable plan B under my belt makes sense. So I went ahead, spent the money for that. Okay, yes. So prepping for plan B just in case, right? Did all that. I went and got any needed just office supply kinds of things. So I upgraded my desk for my laptop. I still need to get a decent chair because I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time writing now, and so I need a decent chair for my home office space. And then finally, one of the things, particularly if you live in the US of A, health insurance. When you quit that job, depending on what type of job it was, 9 times out of 10, you don't have health insurance. And so you're going to have to hop on the marketplace and through the Affordable Care Act, get your health insurance. So I reached out to a couple of people that I know who are self-employed and have gotten their insurance through the marketplace. And I asked them for references, people I could contact to find out more about it. And so that's a phone call and meeting I need to set up so that I'll have health insurance. But before I left my job, I wanted to make sure that I had gotten as many of my health issues taken care of as possible. So if you've seen any of my previous videos, then you may have seen I had a lipoma. It's a big old mass of just tissue growing behind my ear. So with some help from family, I went and got that removed because I knew once I take this leap of faith, I'm not going to have the insurance coverage that I did have. And so being able to afford that procedure was going to be difficult. So got that taken care of. All my regular checkups, right? So I got dental work done that I needed to have done. I got all of my physical exams with the vaccines now rolling out. That's going to be interesting because, like I said, I just left the job. And 1 or 2 days before my state opened up their vaccines to my age group and lower, and I was not able to get any kind of appointment to get my shots before I was leaving. So that's something, that I have to take into account. But again, I got everything else taken care of that I could prior to leaving my job. I also got car repairs done that were needed. My car had been making this very odd noise for quite a while, and I knew it had something to do with the suspension or the suspension or brakes. And so I went and had that looked at. Well, I'm glad I did, because that was a major repair that needed to happen. So I was able to get that done. And in the meantime, of course, keeping up with regular oil changes and those kinds of things, just to make sure that my vehicle was in as good a shape as it could be, because again, I'm leaving that job. My income's about to do some very interesting things as I get it to a point where it's stable and I'm turning a profit, paying myself a salary. And the last thing I need is for my car to die. Although, under the circumstances, it wouldn't be that tragic in that, fortunately, again, with the vaccinations and things, Ubering is a little safer, I think. So I could still get around. I also have friends and family I could call on if I needed to. So again, losing the car wouldn't be that big a deal, but it's not something that I wanted to have happen. So there we are. So to wrap this up and to outline more clearly, I went through about 7 steps to get to the point where I was as comfortable as I was going to be leaving my full-time job. Of course, if you have any questions, concerns, leave them in the comment section below and I'll be sure to review them and respond. In the meantime, you guys, this is it. I'm 100% founder, CEO, CFO, head of marketing, and all the good stuff for No Water Press Publishing and Consulting, LLC. And I am looking forward to seeing where this takes me. I hope you guys have subscribed and hit that notification bell so that you can join me for the ride. In the meantime, you guys take care, and I'll see you soon.